Hey everyone, what is going on? This is Brian and we are back again with a video for you all that I hope is helpful. So what I wanted to take a look at today are 5 whiskeys that I've had in 2021 that are not all that difficult to find. I feel like it's very easy to be talking about birthday bourbon or talk about the upcoming Four Roses or talk about some of these incredibly expensive bottles. Russell's Reserve 13 even being one of those products, and they're not all that accessible to a lot of people. So I figured, what if we went through a list of some products that hopefully are a little bit more accessible to the general public. Now, I'm not going to be tasting through these as we go. I'm just going to be pulling the bottles up and talking about them briefly so that we have a quick digestible video for you guys. It has to be said, some of these bottles are going to be difficult for you to find the specific bottle because they're single barrels, but it's my hope that the guidance or maybe even the type of product that this is means that you'll have luck with something similar in your region. Go ahead, jump down below, hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment, let me know if you're enjoying the content. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to continue to bring content to you all. First video I'm going to talk about is an Elijah Craig single barrel that was released here in Louisville, Kentucky at Justin's House of Bourbon. Now this one was for the Bourbon Festival 2021, and this one ends up coming in at 13 years old. Now this is not necessarily going to be a common age that you find for these, and a lot of people have asked me, hey, how do you know what the ages are? Well, some stores will say either on the label or they'll just say at release how old these bottles are. Otherwise, you could possibly contact Heaven Hill to give you that information. But this is not a barrel strength bourbon. This is not one of the new Elijah Craig barrel strengths that are going to be coming out. This is still at 94 proof. But the flavor that we have in this bottle has some of these antique notes, some dusty notes, some good fruit notes, and a lot of oak and caramel. It's one of the profiles that I think hits all the things that I look for in a whiskey. But this one isn't all that uncommon to a lot of the other 11 or 12, even 10-year picks that I've had. One thing I love about Elijah Craig is that even at 94 proof, it seems to have a good richness and a good mouthfeel and a good body for something that can be found so accessibly. Usually if these single barrels are coming out in your store, you're finding those anywhere from $30 to $40. So it's a really affordable price point. Even the regular small batch is fine, but I do highly recommend if there's a store around you that has a single barrel pick, I would grab it and I'd give it a chance. The next bottle that we're going to talk about is no stranger here on the channel, but it is the Wagon Unfiltered. This is a barrel strength product that comes from a marriage of different barrels of MGP bourbon. And one thing I love about this is just the flavor profile that I've seemed to have in the couple of batches that I have been able to taste. I think that it's something that does MGP flavor at this age range really well. And I think it's for somebody who is looking for a little bit higher proof, but not really, really high proof. This is usually in the 1 teens, which is a good proof point that I like to drink at. That gives a lot of flavor, even though it's complemented with a little bit of heat. Now, this, as well as some of the other products I'm getting ready to talk about, are products that you can stay on the alert from with Sealbox. If you go to sealbox.com, if you sign up for Sealbox's newsletters, you'll be alerted when these things come available. And the same can be said with this Wagon Unfiltered. For a $65 MSRP, it's really hard for me to suggest anything other in this price range for this type of product. On a similar note, but a different note, we are going to talk about the Nashville Barrel Company bourbon. Now, this is something I didn't exactly know what I'd be getting into, as again, it is 5, 7, 8-year MGP bourbon. But from the barrels that I have tried, the picks of barrels that they are selecting from have been amazing. Lately in the gift shop, which is recently open in Nashville, you can go and peruse some of their ryes and bourbons down there. But I see a lot of groups also doing picks from this, Sealbox being one. And they have some 5-year products that I put it up against most 5-year products I have tried out on the market. I put the 5 years up against most 6 and 7-year-old products that I have on the market. But this pick that a group of mine had done is a 7-year bourbon, and the oak and caramel and vanilla profile that comes from this bottle is just something that I very much enjoy. It's a little bit on the higher price point. These things you might find anywhere between $80 and $100, but at that age range and having the amount of oak that it does, the thing that I appreciated the most about these last 3 pours that I talked about is I've had these immediately after having Russell's 13. And while I love the complexity and the nuance that comes from that pour, I didn't feel like I was slighted in the flavor that I got from these 3 barrels compared to that. I feel like there was a similar level of spice, or similar level of complexity, or a similar level of oak and sweetness in any of these 3 bottles that I just talked about coming off of Russell's 13. I don't think that they're slouch, and I do not think that you will go wrong with any of these 3 picks. We are moving to a very unique one, and this comes from Starlight Distillery. It's a bourbon that's been finished in Brazilian Amburana barrels. Now, this is what they released for their cigar batch, and it was a limited release that they did at the distillery, but I've been seeing other groups being able to do picks of bourbons also finished in this Brazilian Amburana. I will let you all know. Sealbox is going to be releasing one of these later this week. So again, I tell you, if you have not subscribed for the newsletter to get alerts for products that release on their site, pause this video, go jump over to Sealbox, and make sure that you're signed up, because their pick of a bourbon in the Amburana barrels is going to release later this week at the time of this recording. The flavors that come from this bottle are very unique and very weird. They're almost overwhelming in the amount of cigar box, tobacco, Christmas cookie in a lot of instances. There are some funky notes and there are some comforting notes all mixed together. And it's one of the more unique pours that I've had this year. And while at first I was hesitant to do this video and talk about this pour, even though it's been one of my favorites that I've had this year, because of the accessibility of finding it, when I heard that Sealbox was going to be releasing one, I figured I could put it in this video and that viewers like you all would be able to jump over there and have a shot at one before they sell out later this week. The final product I'm going to be talking about is actually not Calumet 14, but it's Calumet 15. If you've not caught any of our Entry Proof Live videos over on the Drew P. Whiskey channel on Thursday nights, we're generally live over there doing all sorts of chit chat, but sometimes we're going through blind flights. And one of the last blind flights that we were given, I was given a sample of the Calumet 15. Now, I will say on record, because I haven't done a video of the Calumet 14 versus the 15, I was not an enormous fan of the 14. I thought it was earthy. I didn't exactly love the flavors that it had to it, but the sample of 15, specifically in a blind, was very unique and had a lot of flavors I look for, from the old leather and old oak notes complemented with some sweetness. For a 15-year-old bourbon, now again, this is not necessarily disclosed where it comes from, although I'm pretty sure that these are Barton barrels. This bottle does come in pricier than the other ones that we've talked about at the Total Wine here in Louisville. I've seen them, plenty of them in case, and they come in at $103. So it's a little bit pricey, but compared to, let's say, Doc Swinson, if we compare this to Whiskey Drummer, if we compare this to Blue Run, some of these other products, you're getting a very good flavor profile that's somewhat similar to those things, but it is a little bit cheaper than those other products. Now, I will also say, compared to a good 13, 14, 15-year-old Knob Creek, double the price. Is it worth that? Not really, but I do know that the stock of those Knob Creek picks are becoming a little bit harder to find. Guys, I hope this video was helpful for you all. Let me know down below if there's other pours that you all have had that have been easy to find this year that you would put on some of your favorites of 2021. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave me a comment down below or a thumbs up on the video to let me know if you're enjoying the content. If you'd like to have more content, consider supporting the Entry Proof Podcast. That's a podcast that I do with Drew P. Whiskey I mentioned earlier. He's also here on YouTube, and we're live on his channels on Thursday nights. You can listen to us at entryproofpodcast.com if you are one of those podcast download listeners. Want to support the show? Support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. And that's a way that you all can fuel the barrel picks that we do, that we can continue to fuel the content that we provide to you all here on YouTube. Until next time, everybody, cheers.